Hi, good morning. Today is lesson 89. Today is one of those lessons that you might have to rewind and watch a couple of times. The concept, it's not too difficult, but it is kind of something that you'll have to think about a little bit to understand. Not so bad, but you will have to think about it just a little bit. If you struggle after you watch the lesson, I would watch it again, maybe a couple of times, and then look in your textbook and read all of the examples, which will be the same as these, and read through the text to see if they say something else that might help you to understand this. Remember, you don't have to be the master of this skill today. There'll be lots of opportunities to get better at it. So let's look at the lesson. Today is lesson 89. We're on page 460 in the textbook. And the lesson itself is estimating square roots. Let's recall what square roots are. Remember, the square root of 25 is 5 because 5 times 5 is 25. The square root of 100 is 10 because 10 times 10 is 100. So we're going to do just a little bit different kind of numbers than those, however. Number 1 says simplify the square root of 400. So we immediately start thinking to ourselves, some number times itself equals 400. So then we have to go through this whole mental process of thinking, well, the square root of 400 must be greater than 10 because 10 times 10 is only 100. And the square root of 400, must be less than 100 because 100 times 100 is 10,000. So somewhere between 10 and 100 is the square root of 400. So the square root of 4 is 2. 2 times 2 is 4. So the square root of 400 might be 20. 20 is between 10 and 100. And sure enough, 20 times 20 is 400. So therefore, the square root of 400 is 20. Okay? Number 2, find the square root of 625. So now we know that the square root of 400 is 20, okay? So, and then we know 30 times 30 is 900. It's got the square root of 625 then has to be greater than 20 because the square root of 400 is 20. So the square root of 625 must be greater than 20. But 30 times 30 is 900. So the square root of 400 must be somewhere between 20 and 30 because 20 times 20 is 400. 30 times 30 is 900, and we're looking for the square root of 625. Somewhere between 20 and 30. That means 21, 22, 23, 24, all the way through 30. Well, the last digit of 625 is a 5, so something times itself has to end with a 5. So, and it has to be between 20 and 30. So it might be 25. Because 25 times 25 is going to end with a 5, and it's somewhere between 20 and 30. So if we multiply 25 times 25, indeed, we do get 625. Therefore, the square root of 625 is 25. Now again, you might want to rewatch that. I'll go through this really quickly one more time. The square root of 625. Well, the square root of 400 is 20. We just learned that. So the square root of 625 then must be greater than 20. But 30 times 30 is 900. So the square root of 625 must be somewhere between 20 and 30. The last digit of 625 is a 5. So something times itself has to end with a 5. And it has to be between 20 and 30. So in fact, it is 25 because 25 times 25 is 625. Now let me move my little camera so I could go to the next question on the board. Good. Between which two consecutive whole numbers is the square root of 20? Now consecutive whole numbers would be they sit side by side on a number line. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, all of those are whole numbers that are consecutive. Consecutive, that just means they sit side by side on a number line. So the first thing we do is we start listing perfect squares. That'd be 1 times 1, 2 times 2, 3 times 3, 4 times 4, 5 times 5, 6 times 6, 7 times 7. So 1, 4, 9, 16, 25, 36, and 49, those are considered perfect squares. The square root of 20 is somewhere between the square root of 16 and the square root of 25. The square root of 20 would fall somewhere between the square root of 16 and the square root of 25 on a number line. The square root of 25 is 5, and the square root of 16 is 4. So the square root of 20 is somewhere between 4 and 5. So if you're looking at this one more time, the square root of 20, we list the perfect squares. That's the first step. Start listing some perfect squares. The square root of 20 is between the square root of 16 and 25. And the square root of 16 is 4. The square root of 25 is 5. So the square root of 20 is somewhere between 4 and 5. When we start talking about the square root of 20, we can see that 4.5 times 4.5 is 20.25. And 4.4 times 4.4 is 19.36. So the square root of 20 is actually called an irrational number. There is no exact number that is the square root of 20. We know that it's somewhere between 4 and 5, but there is no actual number that is the square root of 20. So we call the square root of 20 an irrational number. Number 4 says simplify the square root of 169. Again, the square root of 169 must be less than 20 because 20 is the square root of 400. But it must be greater than 10 because 10 is the square root of 100. So 169 ends with a 9, and it has to be between 10 and 20. So it has to be something times something that equals 169. So we're going to try 13 because 3 times 3 is 9. 13 times 13 is, in fact, 169. So the square root of 169 is 13. We know that because it has to be between 10 and 20, because 20 is the square root of 400, 10 is the square root of 100, 169 is between 100 and 400. It ends with a 9. 3 times 3 is 9, so 13 is the number between 10 and 20. That could equal 169. So the square root of 169 is 13. Number 5 says find the square root of 484. It's going to be greater than 20 because that would be 400. Less than 30, that would be 900. So somewhere between 20 and 30 is the square root of 484. It ends with a 4, so it's 22. Okay. Number 6, between which two numbers is the square root of 15? So we list those perfect squares. 1, 4, 9, 16, 25, 36, and 49. 15 is between 9 and 16. So it's between 3, the square root of 9, and 4, the square root of 16. Between 3 and 4 would be the square root of 15. The square root of 40 would fall between 36 and 49. The square root of 36 is 6, and the square root of 49 is 7. I hope that helps you. Please look into your textbook as well. I know this is a little bit of a harder lesson, but you can do it. You're all so smart, and you've learned so many things this year. Just keep working. I wish that you guys were sitting all in these desks here today and that I was seeing your faces and I was talking to you. But I am talking to you just through this video, but know that I'm thinking about you, that I hope that you're staying well and that you're having a good day at home. Work hard, do your best. We want to do everything as unto the Lord. We want to be our best and do our best. I love you guys so much. I hope that you have a fantastic day. Work hard, get this done. It'll be due tomorrow. Actually, I'm going to give you 2 days. It'll be due in 2 days. So enjoy, have a good day. I'll talk to you soon. Bye now.